Hi, I am Kedger on Two Wheels, and today is the day for the SYM. So, the SYM is a 125. The looks don't quite show it, but it is. When you cross one, especially from the front, it looks like your standard naked 600 with a bit of a CB1000-ish headlamp, so it looks really nice. It doesn't look like a 125 at all, and to help that, and it seems to be a design feature, nothing on this bike says 125. It's just SYM. You can see it's a 125 from the tiny engine over there, and even that tiny engine looks a bit fatter. So this is one of my subscribers' bikes, and it is 2 years old and has 12,000 kilometers on the clock. Front to back, what does this bike have? It has new non-stock tires. I think it's Bridgestone's BT45s. It has a front disc brake, which is not that big actually. It has steel braided brakes as stock. SYM seems to like braided brakes, which is unusual but nice. You have your normal instrument dash, which is corroded because we live next to the sea, so anything that's not perfectly corrosion free will end like that. Then you have your tiny 125 engine, which develops, if I remember correctly, about 10 horsepower. It is carbureted, it's not fuel injected, so that's a cost saving measure. The price of this little thing is about 2,300 euros ish. And the rest of the bike is generally standard. You've got your tiny mudguard just to protect the rear single shock absorber, which is tucked under that. So you've got decent suspension. You've got drum brakes at the rear, which is a bit disappointing. And you've got a nice LED tail lamp. Cool looking indicators. The bike itself looks really nice. This is obviously not stock. You've got your pillion foot pegs. So that's basically the bike. Now, on top of the bike, you'll see you'll see a few things after you jump onto the bike. Let me just take this off. This is okay. First thing you'll notice is one of these scratches. This is from all the keys. That's why you don't usually hang keys from your bike key, because this is what happens. Well, what you see when you get onto the bike is this beautiful dash with a tiny texture imitating carbon fiber, but it's not carbon fiber, obviously. Turning it on, you see that it is a digital dash with an analog rev counter, and it is quite a nice digital dash indeed. You have kilometers, a clock, and just trip, odometer, and a clock. That's just about it. Digital speedo works really nicely, and I quite enjoy that. Another thing you notice is that the handlebars are bent towards you. And that's my only gripe with this so far. This is supposed to be a naked utilitarian bike, but the riding position is very sporty. Hey man, come on. Oh, sorry. Stupid. Okay, now it's on. But the riding position is very sporty. The handlebars are bent towards you and down. So it has quite a sporty feel to it. Also, the foot pegs are pretty high, so you are on a sport bike-like position. Not too much, but a bit. Now let's see. I've been driving this a bit around here, and now I'm going to see what it can do a bit higher up in terms of speed. But so far, the feeling I've got, it's got a high center of gravity because it seems to want to lean more than you'd expect. It turns more than you'd expect. Let's see how this goes now. Doesn't sound at all bad for 125. And it does have a tiny screen this little thing, which looks nice, and I can't quite comment if it protects me very much because I'm not going fast enough. It's amazing how a scooter can actually take up the whole lane, man. This is full throttle going at 100 kph, and it's not slow. It's not very fast, but it's not slow by a mile. It's not quite as stable as a more expensive bike I've ridden here, or any of them, but it's not bad. The fatter tires, because this has a 150 rear tire and 110 front tire, help giving it a feel of more stability, especially at higher speeds. So that's enjoyable. It does have a bigger bike feel. It feels light still, but it doesn't quite feels quite as light as your normal budget 125. You do get the feel that you're on a bigger bike, like a 300. It's much like the feel I got on the Duke. It does feel more, bigger, fatter, but it's still very light. And then you roll throttle and you notice that nothing much has happened. And you remember you're on the 125 again. Quite like the dash. The dash is very nice. And the wind protection is, well, adequate, going 100 and didn't feel much wind, courtesy of this small deflector and this fatter tank. Meaning fatter than the 125. It's not very big, but it's much bigger than, say, the CBF 125. Suspension's very comfy. Drivers seem to be the same as they always are, everywhere. Ooh, this is very comfy. Suspension's soft, but it's not too soft, I think. Then again, this is so light, it doesn't... The good thing about light bikes is that they're so light, you don't need a stiff suspension to keep them working correctly. You can afford to have a softer suspension. Let's see, braking here. Not bad. Let's try again. This corner's like a sports bike, but it's a naked one. How did I go past this guy? Mirrors look very weird, but they work. So all in all, for a 2,300 euro bike, this seems to be quite the bargain. Ooh, it handles nicely. Especially if you start leaning into the turn, like you should. Then it starts handling really nicely. I'm impressed. Although this whole thing of the sporty position on a naked bike feels a bit weird, especially since this is supposedly marketed towards economy commuting. For commuting you will get a bit tired on the back and wrists. There's also another thing I don't like, is that the foot brake, the pedal, is way too high, so I have to take my whole foot off the peg to press the rear brake, because it's nowhere to be seen. I can't even press it. My foot doesn't bend that way, that much up, okay? For example, there is no way for me to cover the rear brake unless I put my ankle onto the peg, not the ankle, the ball of the rear of the foot onto the peg, and then I can just barely cover the rear brake, because you have the peg here and the rear brake's like here. That's very disappointing, meaning I can't almost use it. It's silly, seriously. It is very silly. That. Also, another feature it has that the owner of this one has removed is that when the side stands down, the bike doesn't start. Which is annoying when you want to warm her up, especially because it's a carbureted bike. See? This is the choke. That's the same problem my Keyway Superlight has, and I have toyed with the idea of disabling the sensor, but then again, the wife's riding it and she might start the bike with the side stand down, like I just did in front of the owner. Started riding, first left turn. What the hell? Oh, right, side stand. Oops. That happens. So yeah, this one I should test on twisties, because this does feel very nice. Just for your info, SYM is a Taiwanese company, not Korean, like I said last time, which is trying its utmost to reach Japanese levels of quality. And some bikes are now very expensive because they have near Japanese levels of quality. This one's still one of the cheaper ones, but SYM, their specialty are scooters. This is the only proper bike they do. And it's a budget one, 2,300 euros. It's still some 200 or 300 euros less than the CBF 125, which is probably all due to the no fuel injector part. Oh, the dash lights up a very nice shade of blue. Looks great. So this being a budget bike, and that guy almost crashed. This being a budget bike, there are some corners to be cut. One is the drum brake at the rear, which is very disappointing, but then again, this is a budget bike and front brakes are awesome. I like the addition of the braided brakes. The owner of this one doesn't quite like the brakes. He says it's too stiff, but I love them. They're really strong. The disc may be small, but those braided lines make it so that the brake is very stiff and you don't need a lot of force to be braking quite a lot. There's not much travel. I'm braking already just by touching the handle. I'm just slightly touching the handle and look, I'm just braking. But if you need to brake, you apply a bit more of force to this and it just bites dramatically. The engine is so-and-so. It's not very fast, but it's not poor either. For example, the KTM Duke has a much more powerful, much nicer engine. Then again, it is probably almost double the power this one has. I don't like the ergonomics. I think it's a bit silly, this sporty riding position on a commuter bike. But even so, even if I say, okay, right, it's a sporty riding position, the neutral is a bitch to get in. I have to be rolling forward. Okay, no, it did. The pegs are very poorly positioned in relation to the foot controls. I have to bend my feet quite a bit up to use either of them. The gears, it's not so bad, and they can be adjusted, but the brake, that's just horrible, man. Oh, the stock tires on this are also complete and utter junk. The guy changed this because he fell with the bike due to the tires. So that's one good reason to change the tires. They just don't work in the wet, and the bike just stalled for some reason. Yeah, I know you're there. What the hell do you want me to do? Disappear? Nice, nice maneuver. It's a great little bike to go into traffic with. Now let's see how she does full acceleration. It's a 125, guys, remember that. It's never going to be super fast. Now let's brake. And front and rear. I could have braked a lot more. These brakes are great. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. It does have a gear indicator. This thing here. There's another symbol above which looks like a sun, and I don't quite know what that is. Does it mean that the bike's hot? Or that it is at its optimum temperature? No idea. So fourth gear does 90 kph and then fifth seems to be overdrive for economy. Owner says the bike does about 3 liters to 100 kilometers, so it's not that fuel efficient. It is carbureted, so that's why it doesn't have those fantastic 2.5 liters to 100 kilometers that we all love and enjoy on the 125s. But 3 is not that bad. See me moving around a lot on the handlebars? That's because this most definitely has a higher center of gravity than I'm used to, so I need to be constantly slightly correcting. But it's not bad, don't get me wrong, it's just a feature. You can choose to have a higher or lower center of gravity, and it's good for one thing, bad for a few others. Higher center of gravity means it's very agile, going left, right, like so. Want to see? Like this. It's really fast doing this, and it feels awesome doing this. The issue then, it's very agile, therefore not very stable, which is the opposite of agile. But so far, I like it quite a lot. I'll have to say, for 2,300 euros, this is a very good machine. Just remember, you're not going to get all the bells and whistles you get from a more expensive ride. For example, virtual indestructibility from the more expensive Hondas, or corrosion-proof finishes, or disc brakes at the rear. But they did cut corners, but they cut the corners where they could. A rear disc brake is a great thing to have, but on a 125, if you don't have it, it's bad, but it's not the end of the world. At least the front brake is good enough to kinda allow you to overlook that. The engine's good, it's not bad, it's not awesome, but it is nice. It's economical, and it does look absolutely fantastic. And yeah, there is a center of gravity is high. You can feel it when you lean it. A great deal of the handling from a bike seems to come from the tires. Good tires make the bike handle completely different. So I'm not really sure how this will be on the stock tires, which in any case, unless they're really good tires from a decent brand, I would heartily advise you to change. Make the tires something like these Bridgestone. And I'm going to stop here to do the Portuguese version of this. Maybe over there. Yeah, that's where I'm going to do this. For this bike parking near the casino. Here we go. Oh great, bike parking. Oh, there's a little ramp there, which I did not take. Look, this is a Honda CBR 125. It's an old one, and I think I know this one. And this is a SYM GTS 125 Evo, which is old. God damn it. Stupid neutral, go in. Okay. Small trick, if your neutral doesn't like to go in, try doing it while the bike's moving forward. Works wonders. So here is the bike. Wonder if I can fit through here. Barely. So check out the difference. I'm sure they're going to complain that I'm standing on. Both are 125s. Now seriously tell me, which one looks the most like a 125? This does not look like a 125. It's much bigger, much fatter, right? And that's the whole appeal of it. It does not look like a 125. It looks awesome. It is cheap. It handles good. Handles more than good enough. On a scale from the 125s, it is, well, the more expensive, the Yamaha Majesty, the scooter, handles a bit better than this, but it is a scooter, so there's that. The SYM GTS handles as good as this, but it is a fat scooter. This, I would say, it's just under the Duke. Yeah, it's a bit under the Duke and what other 125 I haven't tried. Oh, the YZF, but that is not comparable. So this is worse handling wise than the Duke and the YZF 125, but it is a lot cheaper. But it's not bad handling. It actually handles quite nicely. It flicks around easily, but then when you're leaned, it turns more than you'd expect. So when you're leaned, you have to be correcting every now and then. But still, it's a good bike and it's cheap and cheerful. I'm impressed and I liked it. Should I have gotten this one instead of my CBF 125? Maybe. The riding position isn't quite as utilitarian or as upright and comfortable as the CBF 125, but the bike itself, I might have gotten this instead of the CBF, but the CBF does run on fumes. It's like 1 whole liter less than this one. So yeah, that's it. A Taiwanese 125 that does not look like a 125, is priced like a cheap 125, and handles like a mid-price 125. Good deal. Kids are out.